as difficult as I find to look inside myself, I find it, really easy to put the pieces together and find links in other people's lives. I'm Pospo. So what kind of name is that? Well, my proper name is Totoulis Posporelis. Obviously, you can't really spell that. So I opted in for an abbreviation of my last name. I don't think that I really know myself as well, I mean, who the hell knows who I am? If you ask my mum, she would say that I'm a walking perfection, disguised as a nightmare. I can be really difficult. I'm really specific about things. I remember, when I moved here to this country and I started, writing reports and all that. And, my supervisor was like, for God's sake, Pospo, can you stop using all these exclamation marks and, these ellipses, the 3 dots? I hate full stops. It's so boring, to bring an end to something. What are the ellipses? These 3 beautiful dots. They have this, there's possibility for something else, things to evolve, to change. So, yeah, full stop bothers me, they're boring. I guess, I am sensitive. I was sensitive, or I still am, but maybe I don't show it that much. I think I've become a wall of emotions. I need that to survive, I guess. How can you close the door behind you, when somebody says, I want to kill myself, put an end? How do you process that? I don't know. I guess somebody would say that there is afterlife, Yeah, sure. I wonder who came up with this idea of afterlife, to be honest. Like an after party, the fun never ends. You had fun in the festival, but you know what? There is an after party, I've seen many people come back from an after party. Not from the other thing, though. I don't know, but, I feel like one day I'm gonna erupt like a volcano. Like that Icelandic volcano with this unpronounceable name that cancelled the flights for weeks, erupt and fill the sky with emotions that people cannot handle. Which, to be honest, sometimes, mental illness is like that. I was roaming around the corridors of the hospital, the first year that I started psychiatry, still trying to find my way around, how to ask things, because you can ask about pain, about past history. Does your mom have diabetes? Who cares? But when it comes to how do you really feel, so it gets a bit more difficult. So I was walking down the corridor, and then it was this moment. There was this woman in an office, and she was just screaming on top of her lungs. And there was a man just kneeling and just, trying to reach for her. And he said, I love you so much, but I can't stand your illness. And I was like, fuck, that was so real. That was so real. I was devastated because, people deal really effectively with pain, with strokes and heart attacks. You have neurosurgeons, they deal with all these things up there. They do all these things, these operations up there, really complex stuff. And when their patient tells them, oh, doctor, I feel a bit sad. It's like, oh, whoa, that's a bit too much, yeah? Let's call psychiatry. So, and this is the thing, that, I feel that sometimes your chronic mental illness is even worse than cancer. Because nobody doubts you have cancer, right? It's there. People can see it. People want proof. They want something that they can take a selfie with and put it on Instagram. A mass in my head, well, that's real. Sometimes I really hope that, and wish that one of my patients with depression, has a bit of fever alongside the depression, so people can believe that something's happening there. we do know about the cells, about the neurotransmitters and all that, but the root cause of all, it remains unknown. The unknown, many times, it becomes marginalized and scary. And I find that, many people find difficult to acknowledge mental illness and to express their emotions because it really speaks to who we are fundamentally. Our personality, our awareness, our consciousness, our feelings. You don't mind your liver not functioning, right? But mental illness is perceived as a weakness. It's your fault. No, it's not your fault. Smoking is your fault. Mental illness is not your fault. People think that, if I can feel, if I can talk in a certain way, then, why can't you do it? Well, because something is not functioning in the brain, Houdini. Yep. We don't know what. We don't know the details, but yeah. It's the brain, and the brain is bloody complex, we haven't sorted out how the bloody pancreas and the bloody thyroid works, and you expect for us to know how something as complex and beautiful as the brain works. No, not really. But of course, many people, if you ask them, they don't even believe it's in the brain. Even the law has, a really beautiful division between the mind and the brain. Yeah. Here, people they call me and they say that there is something non-organic. What? What do you mean? What do you mean non-organic? I don't get it. Psychiatry deals with the brain and there's nothing non-organic about the brain. All the misconceptions, they start from the name itself, psychiatry. Greeks, apart from a huge debt, have a beautiful language. And in medicine, it's everywhere. So psychiatry is a Greek word. So the second bit everyone knows. It's medicine. It's about healing. But what's the first word? Psyche. I ask medical students, when I do psychopharmacology, what's the psyche bit? They come with all sorts of stuff, the mind, the brain. But no, actually, psyche means psyche, which is the soul. And obviously, I would ask you, where is the soul? And everybody's like, oh, well, I don't know. And they find it really hard to put the soul in the brain. They put it somewhere out there, which means that I'm like a shaman, I'm like a magician. So I give you an object, I give you a tablet, I give you injections, something you can touch that you ingest. Then it goes and acts somewhere inanimate. So all these misconceptions about psychiatry, they're in there. There's in the name. So you see, it was like two people in one moment in time, a snapshot of their life, two lives, two illnesses, because they were both ill, they were both patients, two illnesses merging into one. And people would say, oh, man, they're psychotic, schizophrenic, what do they know? But it was so profound, but it was so strong, and it was so honest. A person that struggles with a life, declaring pure love and emotions about somebody else that's also in real need of that, in real need of his love, in a hospital, in the margins of society. Society that really finds it difficult to deal, both with their illness, but also with this declaration of love. Because society preaches a lot about love, but actually it's dominated by hate. And just look around you. I'm not going to preach more about what love and hate is and why our society preaches that. So what's interesting is that these people, they shared a lifetime, in two parallel realities. In the reality of the hospital and the reality of the society. They were both ill, profoundly psychotic, floridly psychotic, But they managed to merge, the delusions. They found a common ground in love, and that was beautiful. And they would struggle out there, and 1 month one would be unwell, the other would try to convince them to take medication, stand by them. One would have to go into the hospital, the other one patiently waiting out there, visiting, going back and forth from different realities. And then, the other way around. And sometimes they would just, share their madness in the hospital when they were both unwell. When there was no one in the relationship to keep them in track, with the medication and all the other things that we psychiatrists say that, people need to do to remain well. I think in a sense, I may need that to survive. On a daily basis, I have so much, sadness and distress unloaded, on me. But maybe this is a way for me to survive, to move on. It's not that I'm insensitive, it's not that I don't care. But otherwise, I can see clear. I can see past that and try to help you. It's really romantic and emotional to think about, this is so sad, it is sad, but there's no time right there and then to think about that. But then it hits you, at some point. It will eventually hit me. My profession, I don't think it changed me. My patients definitely didn't change me. Actually, they accepted me way more than, the constraints of professionalism. Had way more arguments with professionals and the status quo about how things are done and how you should behave, how you should dress in a professional environment and all that crap. I've never heard that from a patient. I've never had a single complaint from a patient saying, "Why are you wearing sneakers at work?" They don't care. They do care if you don't care, or if you care more about not wearing sneakers at work. I can't go with a bloody suit, privileged, and sell my wisdom to somebody that's in need. No, I want to go as true and as honest, as real as I am. Naked from all the, conformities and musts and shoulds of society and professionalism. I hate this word. Professional. What the hell is professional? You are not professional. No, you are. Normality. Wow. Well, I don't think there's no sense of, universal normality, The same way there's no common sense. I mean, where the hell did you hear that? Common sense. That's not common sense. It's common sense that offshore companies are a massive fraud. They do exist. It's common sense that we don't need kings and queens, do we? Nah. It's common sense that kings and queens, actually, it's a perfect form of eugenics. It's the utmost expression of racism. But you still have them. There is not normal. There's no such thing as normal. We live in a highly flawed world, right? Yeah. We live among delusion, religion and politics being two of them. But we don't really get it. We don't really get the delusions because we're too absorbed in our world, our normality. Which doesn't mean that it's the normality of the person next to me. I remember I was working in a psychiatric intensive care unit. And back then, I just loved, going back in the backyard, with the patient roaming around, just having fun with them and, talking about things. And I remember one day I was with Michael Jackson and King George, son of Peter Gabriel and Kate Bush. So King George, every time you would ask him about how old he is, he would say a completely different age, something completely absurd. So she would say, I'm 92 or I'm like 60, and this would change every bloody day. So that day, I was there with Michael and King George, and I said, so how old are you? Well, I'm 7. You could see Michael Jackson. So the guy next to him, he was like, no. He's like, no, you're not 7. And then King George turned to Michael Jackson and he said, you're not Michael Jackson. And it was unbelievable. I was like, this is great. This is amazing. Michael Jackson doesn't believe King George and King George doesn't believe Michael Jackson. It was amazing. And, it was beautiful because they could see the absurd. They could see the absurdity in each other's delusions, but not in theirs. And, but still, they managed somehow to coexist. And that's society for you. In that moment, I got a glimpse into a real world. I mean, it's funny because, people ask me all the time, what's the craziest thing you've ever heard? Well, I don't know. And most probably, it's not going to be the same tomorrow, because there's always someone to come up with something even crazier, even madder. And I love it, that people say, oh, don't use the word crazy or mad. No, madness is beautiful. Madness is a different way of thinking, but madness causes also pain. So it's one thing to see madness in a romantic way, and another thing to see, the reality of living, in madness, or the reality of living, with a chronic mental illness, be it depression, or somebody that's really anxious that they can't leave the bloody house for months. Well, not really, because I don't know. It's it's the same boring thing that you're just being exposed to other lifelines, and then you go back and reappreciate your life. The truth is that you get exposed to so many lifelines that I don't think that you have time to reassess things. I think that you may start reassessing things when you're on holidays, or when you hear something so bad and profound that there's no other reaction rather than, feeling, in a sense, privileged that, you are what you are, you're doing what you're doing. Nah, fuck it, I don't know. I don't know, because I've never thought about this thing. I don't think that. Plus, what I'm trying to avoid is I don't want to romanticize the whole thing, because I feel that romanticizing psychiatry and mental illness brings the wrong message. Brings the wrong message of somebody that's lost, in a romantic world, of madness, creating, some beautiful art, when it's not really what's the case is all about, So I really want to avoid that. So I don't want to get this message that, I heard this really sad story and then it made me reappreciate my life. No, that's bullshit. So I don't want people to think of mental illness as something different from what it actually is, which is an illness. It is a disorder. The same way that diabetes and hypertension is a disorder, and you don't see hypertension in a really romantic way, do you? No. You just go and take a medication and then life goes on. So I think that this is one of the ways that people should approach, brain disorders in general. I hate the fact that psychiatry and neurology, were split into different ways. Anyway, and that's why I'm trying to avoid persistently to give a straight answer to that. If you changed me, or if I see things in a different way. Yeah.
That's
Fair
all.
enough. Yeah.
That's whatever you want to say. I'm interested by what you said about people seeing absurdity in each other's delusions, but not their own. For me, hearing that, I think that your experience working with people who are psychotic, that might bring up a point about people who aren't psychotic, but because it's so exaggerated, you start to think about it. Do you think that you have these lessons because of these magnifications? So if you said someone's can see the absurdity in each other's delusions but not their own, do you think that you maybe would have thought, okay, well, that's just people, regardless of psychosis?
Well, not really, because so delusion is a really powerful thing. Is about, I think that this is true and nothing else. Doesn't matter, what you're going to tell me. I just don't believe you. That's it. That's the whole point of a delusion. And there's no way that you can shake that. And people live lives, whole lives, just believing one thing. And actually, monodelusional disorders, so there's nothing else there. So there's people that just believe one thing. They don't have hallucinations. They're not distressed in any other way. They're not depressed. So their lives are governed by one idea. Somebody's spying on me. That's it. They're the most difficult to treat. Which obviously, sometimes, you would say, is it easier to just tell a psychiatrist, well, yeah, you're right, I don't believe that anyone's spying me, so I can get the hell out of there. But that's the difference. They cannot say it because they're so absorbed in that reality that it just takes them as a river and just float with it. They don't have the cognitive capacity to think deviantly as a politician and lie to your face. So a politician is delusional. A priest is delusional. But the main difference is that it's conscious. So they're lying consciously at your face. So they know what they're doing. In a sense, they're not delusional. In a sense, they're malingering. So they have a secondary gain, if you want to put it like that. But somebody that's delusional, he cannot handle it. So, no. If I see people that are really, stuck with their ideas or whatever, no, I don't think that they're psychotic or delusional or anything like that. I think there's a clear distinction between those two. The main being that somebody that's psychotic and delusional, they cannot really function out there. The delusional, they can really function out there. I can and this is, the part of the introspection and, the self-reflection is a really tough thing, when people say, go to do psychoanalysis, it's not an easy thing. It's a really tough thing, to open up and, look inside. Some people get, joy out of that and satisfaction. I don't think I would be one of them. But at the same time, as difficult as I find to look inside myself, I find it, really easy to put the pieces together and find links in other people's lives. Maybe that's why I became a psychiatrist. I don't know. Maybe that's why I find it, in a sense, easy. I'm not saying that I'm good at it, but to me, it feels easy, and it's way beyond just trying to find, a death or a divorce that transformed someone. It's about, there are other little things that happen in life that transforms the way you live your life. So it's really easy for me to do that. And I'm surprised, even nowadays, after I've had like thousands of stories, I'm really surprised with how people cope. The levels of resilience they have. Some people are so bloody unlucky at the end of the day. So bloody unlucky. Everything happens onto them for whatever reason. They didn't cause that. But still it happens. But still they persist. So they don't give up. And these people are also an inspiration. Yes. So these people are the times that you reassess and you put your life into perspective and you say, did I just complain because I just missed the bus? Did I just complain because, I don't know, somebody pushed my Vespa and the Vespa fell down and it has a scratch on the side? Or did I just do that? I mean, this guy just fled of his country because somebody bombed his country, and he fled the country, went through hell to come here, and he just saw his brother, being consumed by flames in Grenfell Tower. This is true. And it's like, for fuck's sake, why? It's so unlucky. You can't just make these things up. But still, they persist, and they may go through you name it, through sadness and depression or whatever, but they still persist and they still find meaning in life and they keep going on. And these are the real heroes.